clients have been dealing with the architect for 18 months. I came in towards the end of the process, and this client knew that I hadn't done a project of this scale before.
This is an incredible build.
Yeah, it's wild.
Find yourself in situations where you're forced to improve. I really need to be identifying what it is that I'm really good at. In my mind, that's the single biggest thing you can do for your business.
Really excited to be here today with Bill from DivBuild. He specialises here in Brisbane in high-end bespoke architectural renovations, additions and extensions. And we're here with one of his major projects at the moment here on the Brisbane River.
Like, what's this going to look like in 100 years, 150 years when everyone's forgotten everything else that we've ever done?
Really excited to jump in with him to talk specifics on this project, working with the architect, the client, as well as the journey that he's been on with his business, where he's come from, where he is today, and where he's going. You did a mature age apprenticeship, and then where did things sort of go from there?
Yeah.
And what pushed you originally into doing a mature age apprenticeship?
Oh, I'd always liked building and carpentry, but it was that search for something that was a bit more satisfying and fulfilling. And I didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I had no idea that it was going to become anything like this.
Yeah.
It's funny how you make little decisions along the way that in the end ultimately result in something. And I think, look, don't be fooled, like this is not easy. Like there's definitely hard days, and I'm continually challenged, and sometimes I still question why I do it. But
It makes you human.
yeah, that's exactly right. But it's all those little pieces along the way. So if you want to try and get to whatever your point is, if it's like this or it's something else, just focus on the little bits and solve the little problems. You can't go, I'm going to have the magic bullet and solve it all, because it's just not the way it is. You pick a problem, you pick something that you want, you solve that problem, then you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one. And then you find yourself at a point in time where you look back and you're quite amazed at what you've achieved. And I feel very fortunate that I've done that. You know, I haven't just wandered aimlessly. Well, there's been times I have. But, you know, here I am, so. Yeah.
How long have you had Andy?
5 years. Obviously got all this for him,
Yeah.
but he prefers to ride in the back.
I bet he does.
Right, we'll go for a drive, mate. I love driving this thing.
Yeah, man. And you always wanted a 79 series?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And I couldn't justify it last time around when I bought a vehicle. But
And so what about this did you find appealing? What was it
the sort of simplicity, you know, like the agricultural nature of it.
its heritage and that?
Yeah, they're just workhorses, you know. They just do whatever you ask them to do, and they just keep going.
Hey, Andy. Oh, boy.
He wants to come with us,
I bet he does.
but we won't be long.
Oh, look at those eyes. Shame.
He's there, but he's such a calm dog. One minute he's there and you're like, oh yeah, and the next minute he's just slinked off somewhere. But he's great to have on site.
Everyone gets along.
Clients love him, the guys love him. Like,
I was saying to Andre on the way up, when it comes to like marketing and that, we can sort of see what works well and just some subtleties. Dogs is like such an easy back door into anyone's heart who has a dog.
Yeah,
So-
I love taking him like to work because it's part of our life, you know, and it's nice to kind of break down those barriers with like whether it's subcontractors or staff or clients, you know, everyone always responds to them. So
Yeah.
but you don't see too many dogs on job sites these days.
You grew up overseas?
Yeah, I was in America for 13 years.
13 years, yeah, right. So what age did you leave there?
I was there from age 10 to 23,
Okay.
so pretty formative years.
Yeah. And whereabouts?
Mostly in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh,
What's that like?
working class town, like, and it was the steel town.
What influence do you think that's had on today? Who Bill is today?
Probably one of the biggest things would have been, like in America, customer service is king, right?
Yeah.
And it's completely different. You walk into a cafe or a shop and it's a very, very different experience, you know?
Yeah.
They're very much about being like the server, you know, like they're there to make your experience great. But the ones who do it well are the servers, but not the servants, you know? It's just a very different customer service
That's an interesting
experience.
distinction there. The servers, not servants.
Yeah, well, one of the things about America is because it's the land of opportunity and everyone's working really hard to make a go of it. There's probably more of a reciprocated respect, because you can have some guy who's starting out a business and he's there and he's working for you, and
that's something I know you've talked about having a passion for when it comes to serving clients. How do you see that?
Well, you can imagine in a retail opportunity, you've only got short moments to make somebody's day or, really connect with them and have that impact. You end up being very deliberate with your interactions. So there might be, maybe a little bit embellished to make sure you're getting the point across, but they're just magnified. They're not, they're not fake. And when you've had, you worked in, I worked in Baskin-Robbins throughout high school, and you just client after client after client, like they're coming in customer, and so you get to refine all of your interactions.
Yeah.
And then from
that
there,
worked. That didn't work. I'm gonna try that. Let me. Yeah.
And then from there, later on, I was teaching skiing, so that's very much client focused, and they're paying a lot of money, and it's their big holiday for the year. So you're there to make the experience.
That I find impressive, that you have that awareness to know, hey, this is a big deal for this person. They're coming. This is their big ski holiday of the year. They've invested a lot in time and effort and money to get there. Were you told that? Was that shoved down your throat to make sure you got it, or you were just aware of that?
I think that was part of my upbringing. However, all you need to do is put yourself in their shoes, right? If you're going to be going and you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars on a holiday, or $2 or $3 million on a build, or $500,000 on a build, it's all relative, right? So whatever, if you put yourself in their shoes, you can have sort of compassion for them. You can understand where they're coming from, and you can empathise with what it is they're going through. Fortunately, that's my nature. I've always been that way. But you incorporate that into construction, and it works. It works because that's one of the big fears I think people have, is that it's going to be this transactional process, and tradies can't talk with people and they can't relate, and they're going to, and at different levels there is that experience. But with my team, we all have that same approach, and my team have been selected by that. It's sort of a natural organic growth of a team like that. We're not just going out hiring heaps of people. We naturally build the team when we get the right people who have those same values, and then that models for the rest of them. So it's a very consistent sort of thing across our team.
Bit of a jump from your previous largest project. When you first had a look at it, what was it like?
Yeah, well, it was pretty exciting. You see, when you get a good project come across your desk, you start looking at the plans, and I wasn't really daunted by it. It didn't put me off. I've never really had an issue with sort of taking on something bigger, or if it's a challenge. You just, if I'd done this, if it had come across my desk a few years ago, I would have felt, no, that's too much. And we did have real conversations within the team about, okay, is this the right project? Are we, can we deliver on this?
That's cool. So that's really a team discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. But once you break it down and you look at the details and you just follow the process, you go, no, well, we can do it. It's not always the best thing, I think, to just sit within something you're completely comfortable with. It pushes you. Taking on a bigger project that's a challenge, it's exactly that. It pushes you to be better. And we've had a number of things on this project already where there might have been a system that we thought we had down pat, but because this is a bigger, more challenging project, it then pushes you to be better. You go, okay, we might be struggling with it. Okay, how can we be better at this? So that means the next time that an even bigger project comes along, we're ready for it. And then or even something else, we do another project like this, or smaller ones, they'll just be walking apart.
Like what you're doing here, like this building's been around for 85 years, you're wanting it to be here for another 85 years. And to last that test time.
Yeah, and we've had a few little communications back and forth with the clients, like photos of old buildings, and I'm saying, look, I want to have a photo like this. The old black and white one where there's some guy who built a building in like 1850. And and then the team standing out, or the owner of the building standing out front, you know? Like, what's this going to look like in 100 years or 150 years when everyone's forgotten everything else that we've ever done?
Yeah, I think this is, when you were talking about earlier in terms of you and the whole team and everyone involved in this project really feels the magnitude of it. Like, you can't not feel it when you're on site there, especially for even the trades that are there for an extended period of time. I mean, that's something that we as a team are often very jealous of with you guys that get to work on projects like this and know that when I come back in 20 years, 30 years, my kids bring their grandkids, they can come past us and go, that's where our dad or our granddad, what you're seeing there was really created by
Yeah, well, I think there's
ancestor of ours.
There's two things about the why, right? Like what you do and what you're doing with your life. I think there's it's something of value, trying to, and that can be something that you either create or there's the in the moment experience.
Yeah.
Fortunately, this project ticks both of those boxes, right? You've got something and you can be completely focused on it. Everyone's coming together as a team. It's not just an individual experience. You're not coming in, banging up your frame, and then you're out, and then someone else is in. Everyone's working together as a team and enjoying the process with its challenges. But then at the end of it, you've got something that you go, well, that was worthwhile. Like all that effort we put into it, and all the challenges, and the frustrations that you come across in something like this. You get to the end of it, and you're like, well, that was totally worthwhile.
Yeah, with a build like this, it's not stock standard at all. And I know you've talked a lot about just the intricacies and stuff like that. And so the knowledge needed around that, or the trades you need around that. When it comes to the architectural side of things, how important is that relationship with the architect?
Well, we've got a pretty strong background in achieving those sort of architectural details. Like our Highvale house was great because that was from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? You control everything out of the ground. So the challenge with this one is taking those same level of architectural detail into a 3-story double brick heritage building. It's 85, 90 years old. So the relationship with the architect there becomes really, really critical.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more constraints, and what we're trying to do is deliver their vision and their details into an existing structure. And this isn't just any existing structure, this is something that's its own beast, right?
I hadn't even thought of that. Because normally it's, let's say it's designed from the ground up and it's just all new. But to take what you said there, that detail, and place it on an existing structure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of this work in traditional Queensland construction, right?
Yep.
With timber frames, weatherboard cladding, Queenslander type houses.
Yep.
They're a bit more malleable.
Okay.
And, they're not like this one.
Yeah.
So where we find our role, particularly with the relationship with the architect, is really working with them, because architects, and particularly own architecture, they come up with this beautiful, beautiful design with thought out to the most minor detail, and then we need to try and make that work within the constraints of the building.
Right.
And so there's got to be a lot of back and forth, and there's got to be a lot of understanding. There's got to be that point where beautiful design meets performance and practicality on site.
Yeah.
So there's got to be that give and take. So it's almost like you're coming from two polar opposites, right? You've got the builder who just wants to build it in the fastest, most practical way possible.
Yeah.
That's going to really closely resemble what the architect wants.
Yeah.
And then you've got the architect who's got this fantastic design, and the two worlds have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And there has to be some compromise on both sides.
Okay.
So if you don't have a good relationship and you can't work with each other on a project that's going to take 18 months, 24 months, it's going to make it really difficult.
Yeah. And had you worked with Owen Architecture before?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No.
What was that like, being focused on a relationship with you and knowing the importance of having that in place first before you even think about building it? How do you go about establishing that strong trust relationship in that kind of
Well, it has to be in the preliminary stages.
Okay.
Right. So when you're going through the estimation, when you show that you're serious about the detail and you're serious about providing solutions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of back and forward. Saying, hey, what about this? What about that? And I'm sure they're testing us, but we're also testing them to go, okay, how's this relationship going to work?
Yeah.
And the beauty of something like this is because it is so big and there's so much detail,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of different ways to do it, there's a lot of opportunity for both sides to sort of develop that trust with each other.
Yeah.
But nobody, like architect, client, like we all get so passionate about projects like this, right?
Yeah.
So it's not hard to get common buy-in if you find the right points, whether it's the point, what is it that is really important to the architect?
Yeah.
What is it that's really important to the client?
Yeah. That's a very good point you raised there, that passions and values need to be well aligned.
In this one, right, I came in towards the end of the process.
Yep.
The clients have been dealing with the architect for 12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
It was easy. Like, I just have to demonstrate that I'm actually really working in the client's best interest.
I need to take my copies.
Hey mate, how are you?
Good to see you, Ed. How you doing? Pretty good for you guys so far in this one? I guess.
Yeah, man, massive challenges, but still on track, as in like, still working.
You mentioned one of the big things that's going on here is being so old, the cracks are forming, and so you're doing a lot of underpinning to counter that.
So being so close to the river, this is all alluvial soil, and the old footings to the building were completely insufficient, right? So the first part of the process is do the underpinning. So dig down, we're going not too far here, we're going down about 2 meters below the existing footings.
Do you mind if I a quick peek at the hole? So they haven't filled it yet, have they? They've just dug it?
They've just dug it.
Holy smokes!
What?
So that'll all get filled with steel and concrete. The main reason for the underpinning is to make sure that the building is structurally sound, right?
Okay.
You don't want to be investing this sort of money into it and have an asset that's going to start to crumble. So you can see right there where we've got the big long runs going across the crack.
Yes.
You see where they've
Yes.
taken out those few bricks there?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we insert the stainless steel ties
Okay.
with epoxy.
And how do you tie it?
And that just ties the whole crack together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all that white's scraped back?
Yeah, we'll scrape it all back, make sure it all adheres properly, and you don't have to scrape all of it back, but then the challenge is going to be blending, right? And that's the big challenge on this. You don't want to delete all the history out of the building.
You need to blend the old and new?
You got to blend it, so you got to get it to a point where your architectural finishes are bang on, but there's a cost to trying to make it all perfect, and it's just unreasonable. And I don't think it's doing the right thing by the building either, and neither does the client. They want to see this old character come through. Like just above us here, you'll see the different thicknesses in the wall, all the different render finishes where they've done massive patch repairs over the years. Look, we're going to blend it a bit, but we're not going to eliminate it.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of these buildings. Like you come into them and they had the history to them, right? Why delete the history? So down here, we ripped up the entire ground floor slab
Okay.
and put down new slabs, for services and waterproofing and pest management and the rest.
The entire bottom floor?
Entire bottom floor, all the slab was gone, down to dirt.
Wow.
And they did it all by hand. I can't remember, there's probably I think we took away about 50 tonne. And as we walk in here, this is going to be a bathroom in here. So we're going to have a shower back in that area with a dividing wall and then toilet over there. But you can see here, this was all brick wall here. So we had to come through and support the 2 stories above
Okay.
and put in new steel beams. So even down here while we're on the ground level, when we started this build 11 months ago, doing footings, setting out for the steel, we had to be thinking about, 1, working safely and, okay, what's the best method to do it? But 2, what is that final finish? Like from the very, very beginning, you've got to know all the details. It's amazing. You think, oh, we'll just come through and put the beam in, take the wall out, do what you got to do.
But then that affects that, and that affects that.
Everything, yeah. Particularly on this ground floor. This ground floor has been very, very challenging given the clearances that we've got. All services have to come in and out of here. You can see here, this is all for the air conditioning. It all runs under the slab. We've got plumbing, electrical, everything coming in and out. This is going to be a kid's sitting room. And then we've got a new opening here into what will be the guest bedroom. You all get to this stage and you think, how are you going to get that finish? Look at the cracks.
Oh man, I can't wait to see the finish. Yeah, very grateful. Thanks for letting us walk through here.
No, thanks for coming and checking it out. It's cool. I love being able to share it with people.
Oh,
This is what we do every day. This is what we live and breathe, right? The staircases have a feel to them, don't they?
Yeah.
Look at these. This is the money shot through here. This is what makes the design work, right? It just brings in the outside, brings in the river, changes the orientation.
And once you remove this, it'll mean, yeah, once you come up those stairs, it'll just be that wow factor.
Yeah, so we do fortnightly client meetings, and we've refined the design as we've kind of gone, based on some of the feedback we've had in those meetings, really trying to maximise the river views, you know, taking out little walls here and there, just to make those minor changes that are going to have a big impact. Pretty good feel, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. Whoa. This is an amazing fireplace. Wow.
So I'm just going to have really nice metal balustrading around here to make sure that you're not cutting off those views. While over here you've got the high level brick balustrade, gives you all that privacy. So these clients have a big family. The layout, particularly on this first floor level, is such that they can all spend time together, entertain, eat good food, you know, just really enjoy the spaces.
Together as a family.
Yeah, together as a family.
You place as much importance on the big picture as the finer detail. The finer detail makes up that big picture. But the 1%ers, what are some of the things that you really appreciate and you instill in the culture of your guys and your trades on site every day? What are some of those 1%ers?
Oh, this project is full of thousands of them. You just can't see it yet. And that's the challenge, right, is making sure that people are aware that everything you do from the very beginning is going to impact us at the final stages. Every millimetre counts, even on an old building like this, because once we get to the end, if those things haven't been considered early on at every step of the way, you're going to have problems.
I remember this project was about to be signed, and then you let us know and said, no, they've canned it.
It's off.
It's off because their lawyer wouldn't agree with the terms and said, oh no, it's got to be like this. And you're like, no, I'm not going to agree to that.
I wasn't comfortable with it. I wasn't comfortable with it. And so we called it off. And then, you know, over the next couple of weeks, we were kind of thinking about it, and it was one of those things where I was comfortable to walk away. Then when we went back and started, I thought, look, I'll just give the client a ring again and just say, look, is this, there's a lot of good things about this. And I think we both agree that on that.
Was it a hard call to make, or?
No, it was an easy call. It was an easy call because it was just and it was probably one of the easier calls because you just saying, hey, look, you know that I'm not comfortable with that, but there's a lot of good things here that I think we can maybe reach an agreement. And just going through that process, I think we came out of it that much stronger. Because, well, the client said to me, he said, look, I was impressed that you were happy to walk away because it showed that you were giving it fair consideration, you know? So we came back and we reached an agreement, and here we are. But to think about, if I hadn't made that call, and I was umming and ahhing as to whether or not I made that call, but if I hadn't made that call, we wouldn't be here.
Really?
Yeah, and it's all of those things in that early stage that set up the success of the project.
Yeah.
It's how the relationship works, how the trust is built both ways.
Yeah, I love that story because it just, to me, was like, here's the big project and the lawyer's gone, it's got like this, you walked away, you know, they're listening to their lawyer, and then they tell you know what, the relationship's more important. We can't complete this project based on a piece of paper. This can only be completed based on relationships successfully.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, you still have to, you know, you're still bound contractually and when it comes down to it, but that one thing really cemented a level of trust in the build. From the very beginning, from the first conversation you have with them, it's all about building that relationship, because projects like this cannot be successful if you don't have that relationship. Yeah. I just can't, there's too many areas for things to be strained or for areas of disagreement. Everybody's got to be on the same page.
Yeah, I think
every time. I'm glad I made the call because it's a fantastic project, fantastic clients, you know. My team are loving it. I'm having phone calls with I call up my subcontractors. I say, oh, man, look, thanks. I know it's been really challenging, but I really appreciate your input. And multiple subs have said, no, look, it's just great to be involved in a project like this. Anyway, mate, you're back again.
Yeah, loving it, eh?
Best job ever.
So, all right, come on in.
That's such a powerful attitude to have for everyone on site. What they're doing, they love it that much.
Yeah.
It completely changes the whole attitude of and culture on site.
Yeah. That's having the right people.
This is an incredible project, amazing build.
Yeah, it's wild, eh?
Keeps you busy?
Dominic is the man who brings it all together.
Nice. The Who Not How, I know that was a really great book. You enjoyed that one. It's one we recommend to all of the guys we work with. And one comment we made earlier where you said, oh yeah, like this I could not have done alone. It's taken the team, it's taken the community that you've chosen to put around you. How important is it for people, business owners, builders specifically, to understand that concept of who, not how?
It's really important. It's something that I arrived at later because I tried to do it all myself. And sometimes in the early stages you have to do it all yourself, or you want to do it all yourself, and there is value in that. But you quickly reach a point where you're tapped. You're at absolute capacity and you can't do it. So you realise that you need other people to do it.
Like your High Vale project, you were heavily involved on the tools, but
Every
that
day.
gave you a huge experience in terms of that intricate detail that has led you to have the knowledge for this.
That's
but
right.
To do this, you can't be on the tools.
That's right. There reaches a point where you go, well, what are we trying to achieve here? And am I able to do it myself or with one or two guys? And just naturally, as you start adding all those little pieces and making steps forward, you will reach a point where you can't do it yourself, or you burn out. It's just and you won't be able to do it to the level that you want to do it. So you have to bring in other people.
What have been some of the other people key to your progression?
First and foremost would be my staff, my guys, my team, the DivBuild employees, you know, because without them doing all of this, I can't then expand and grow myself in other areas, in the business, personally. I just wouldn't have the capacity to do it.
And you've been very selective with that team.
Yeah.
just
Again,
run out
it's
and grab
very
it.
similar to the process that I've taken to where I get to now. It's just been a natural, organic process. You find people who feel right, fit the mold. We all get together. We work. We have the common goals. I would really struggle to build my team bigger and scale faster because it just doesn't work with my approach. It doesn't mean it's not possible to get bigger and do that, but everything has to be, in my mind, everything has to be slow, tested, and organic, kind of an organic growth.
Yeah, you strike me as definitely someone who's very methodical. If it hasn't been thought out, or there's not enough justification and reason for that, we don't go there yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, if it doesn't feel like it should be happening, then it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, right.
So it's like you get the ingredients together first, and then you go, oh yeah, well this is what we can do with that, as opposed to the other way for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to deliver projects the way we want to do it and to have the experience that we want to have, you do need to push yourself, but you've got to be certain. You've got to be confident that you're ready for it, that you're up for it, and that you've got all the ingredients to make it happen.
And so team was that sort of big for you, who, in your progression. So after team, what have been some of the other big who's that you've...
Well, pretty much everything else you can think of, as far as running a business, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just me in the office, and I deal with the clients, deal with the contracts. I control the money side of it, like the last part of the process, what goes out, what comes in. But then outside that, estimating's outsourced to someone who's got more resources, more capacity, and can focus on it more than I can. Marketing and advertising, obviously you guys. Strategy, I've got Kurt, working with Kurt on the coaching side of things. My bills processing and my back-end data, I guess, cost tracking is all through Aspire Projects. And that needed to be done because you can't, on something this big, you can't overlook the details, and so if you're trying to do all of it, you're just not going to be able to do it. I'm even with all that, I'm still tapped out Monday to Friday. You know, like I wonder where the time goes, and I'd like to have more time. So now I'm like, okay, well, who else can I get?
Yeah. Who do you think that would be? Who is the next two for you?
Dominic, who works for me on site, is like a key part of the team, right? He knows the site stuff. I'd like to be able to get him relieving some of that pressure of me in the office. So in order to do that, we need more team members on the ground. You know, I need more quality, passionate carpenters who want to turn up and work in this sort of environment, work in this team, do this sort of work. Beyond that, you know, I can bring in some admin guys, but I want to expand the network with architects and designers, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are probably looking for the same thing in a builder that I'm looking for in an architect, or they want to, their motivation for doing projects is the same as mine.
Yeah.
You know, we're not alone. Like I'm not that unique. I don't feel that I am. I think there's a lot of people out there. It's just a matter of connecting with the right people. It all starts with a conversation. And I'm happy to have conversations with anybody who has a passion for this type of work and this type, you know, because that's where the enjoyment comes from. Like now I've got this huge network of people, and we're all working, and it just gets better and better every year. You know, it really does.
Yeah, I like that.
And so who knows where it's going to be in 10 years? Like,
Bill, your why is very important to you. I think some people struggle to find their why. For those watching this, like what's your why behind everything you do?
Whatever I do, I want it to be of value, right? The experience every day, like your day-to-day experience is, well, that's where I get my reward from personally. So my interaction with people and making other people's experiences better. So having genuine experiences, you come in, you might have a whole bunch of them throughout the day, and you go, oh, that was good. That was a good day today. And so what I've managed to do over the years of different career choices is find a job, a career that aligns with all of those values that I have. So I want to make sure that I'm making other people's lives better, but by doing so, my life becomes better. By then combining that with all of the other skills that it's required and the day-to-day enjoyment that you get from, or the satisfaction that you get from running a successful business or being a business owner, I've found myself in construction. You know, we get to build things that are incredible.
Yeah.
We have to work as a team, as you know, in relationships. And the most enjoyable, most successful relationships are the ones where we have worked as a team, you know, and we have needed to rely on other people to deliver. And you get to the end of it and you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I've been thinking about it a bit recently. It's interesting that through the different career choices that I've made, I guess I must have just been continually whittling it down to a point now where this is me. Like this is everything that I'm about. And so when I bring that to a project and I deal with clients, it's genuine, it's evident, and people respond to it.
Yeah, that's something I am always impressed with you. But without even knowing it really, everything that you did leading up to starting DivBuild and doing these kind of projects now has all paved the way.
It's like all the pieces just fell into place.
Yeah.
And until
really
you get,
well.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily by design. It was just something that this is where we ended up, you know. So that's really cool. That's, you know, I'm 45 now, and I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, this is everything that I am, you know. This is right.
I know, like this biggest project you worked on to date, the bill that is needed for this project is different to the bill from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. What's that journey been like in terms of personal growth and personal development?
Going to the why, and you know, where you get your satisfaction in your life. I don't think you can do anything better than to push yourself and find yourself in situations where you're forced to improve, you know, like all of the growth happens in adversity. Like that's where the biggest growth happens. You can't take on a project like this or any big project. You can't start a business and not find yourself in situations where you're forced to really improve yourself, ask some pretty hard questions, because it's never easy. Like it's, I've come a long way and we've got a great thing here, but it's really hard sometimes. And if you don't have some greater goal of enjoying what you do and really something that's tying you to it, you'd probably give it away. I've been very fortunate to have some pretty big projects at different stages, all relative to the time and, how long I've been in business and so on.
Yeah.
But each one of them I come out of them and I've been forced to become a better Bill,
Yeah.
You can't hide from yourself in these things. You can't, you really can't.
And how important is it for you to work on your mindset as a foundation?
Well, when things get really bad, if you've got the wrong mindset, you're just not going to get through it unscathed, And I think fortunately over time, as I've done more projects and I've had some really tough ones, and I now have this perspective that you get through it. And so with that comes a change in mindset of saying, well, this will pass, we'll become better out of it. There's going to be bigger opportunities in the future because each one of my projects has gotten bigger and better, right? But at the same time, also more rewarding.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy what I do more now than I used to, because I've been working on my mindset, really assessing why it is I do what I do. In my mind, that's the single biggest thing you can do for your business, is really just drill down to why you do it from day to day. I think the size of the project, or the challenges that come with it, that's really where, and improving over time, you get a sense of achievement, like a real sense of achievement. That's why it's more enjoyable now.
That's a really cool trajectory to think about.
Yeah.
If that's been the trajectory we've come from, and so we're looking at where we're going, or where you're going.
And it just feels good to get better at something and to be better, because the things that you're trying to achieve, you're more likely to achieve it, And for me, that's all about the experience and relationships with people. And because I'm better at building and I'm better at contracts, I'm better at my systems, so estimating, better at all these things, the rest of the process is better. And so people's enjoyment, You can be on projects, and we have times in this project where we're just tearing our hair out. And it's not always enjoyable, but you get better at it. And then when you reflect and you look back at what you like at either the beginning of the project or 3 projects ago, and how you try to imagine what it would have been like if you hadn't had those experiences, you're like, that would have.
Yeah, you evolve from that challenge, or I know you subscribe to what we subscribe to in terms of the obstacle is the way, and if there's a challenge and you lean in, you solve it, you can often find a better outcome than avoiding it or putting it aside. Or
you become better at the end of it because you're taking it seriously, And you genuinely want to improve at it, so you're forcing yourself to improve all the time. You're always looking for, well, how could I do that better? How could I do that so that guy's not upset? How can I do that so his job is easier? So he leaves the job and he goes, oh, that was all right, that was good.
That's really cool to hear, because we often see with those builders that are sort of doing well and growing, having that mindset.
You've got to be the leader, you've got to control the project. You have to control it. You've got to control as much as you can. Whatever it is you're wanting to achieve, you just have to go and you've got to say, well, that's the direction I'm going. But it's each of the little pieces along the way that are going to get you there, and just be genuine and honest with yourself at every point. Push yourself, push your limits, push your boundaries in a measured way. You can make mistakes in this business that will sink you so fast. But don't be afraid of the challenges, because that is where you will be better. If you don't push yourself, well, you're never going to get any further anywhere else than where you are at the moment. Continually just make steps in the right direction, and one day you'll turn around and you'll find yourself there.
Looking at the future, what does the future look like for Bill and DivBuild and your team and that?
More of the same. I reckon I'm going to take on something else that's going to be a big challenge, different challenge. But really for now, I'm getting a lot of satisfaction in making the process that we're doing and how we function, and like just making all of that better, and not saying, well, next year I want to run 2 of these projects, or next year I want to run 3, or in 5 years' time I want to be doing 6 of them.
Yeah.
You know, people have been asking me, like, what's your goal? They've been asking me that for the last couple of years while I've been doing, you know, working with Kurt, working with you guys. And I've always been a little unsure, because you tend to go, well, I'm going to be bigger. I'm going to turn over 5 mil, I'm going to turn over 10 mil, or, you know, but that's out the window for me now, really. If we can do projects like this and it's enjoyable, good outcomes for everyone involved,
Yeah.
I'll be happy, you know. But who knows, like 18 months ago, this wasn't even on the radar. Like this came out of nowhere. Within 3 months of finding out about it, we'd started the project. So you're only one phone call away from something big.
Nice. Well, we're excited to see that and follow that.
Yeah, man. Well, you'll be there. I'll bring you guys with me. That's cool.